criminal behaviors. It starts out with these three names: Heriberto Seda, Richard Franklin Speck, and Dennis Radar. These were serial killers, and the book kind of gives a background information on like their childhood, what they've done, and what happened to them. So with criminal behaviors, there's mainly like three theories that are used. However, in the U.S., sociological theories are the most dominant one. These theories focus like on opportunity, environments, and social class. These theories can't explain why one person from the same background resists committing crimes. The theories ignores genetic and human behavior. Biological and psychological theories are treated as peripherals. Biological theories it raise many concerns on how biology has to do with crime. Psychological theories they emphasize on psychoanalytic instead of being criminal focused. These three theories they don't try to answer the same question. Like, for example, why do criminals commit crimes? They instead answer different questions. Biology and criminality. Biologists follow the tradition of these three. Um, Biologists trying to find the answer about human behavior. They believe acting violently in certain situations may be inherited. They experimented with children who were born of criminals to see if their behaviors were similar to their parents. Biocriminologists and neurocriminologists, they believe that there is a correlation between lack of nutrition and brain. Modern biocriminology definitions study the physical aspect of psychological disorder. Adults and children who suffer from depression have different brainwave patterns. Scientists believe that this can be inherited. Recent research shows that there is a correlation between crime and genetics. Edward Wilson and C. Ray Jeffries' work had a major impact in mainstream criminology. Genetic and criminality. The XYY syndrome is a genetic abnormality that occurs in males. They have two Y chromosomes. They're known to be more aggressive. They did an experiment, but critics say the sample size were too small. So they studied twins. Scientists studied to see if twins to see if crime is genetically predetermined. In the 1920s, Johannes Lang found that 13 identical twins, 10 of them were criminals. Carl Christensen and Sarnoff Mednick, they conducted the largest study, and they found out that the chance, and what they found was that in identical twins, 50% chance that one of them is a criminal, and same-sex fraternal twins, 20%. Adoption studies. The largest adoption study was between 1924 and 1947 with a sample of 14,227 male. In Denmark, the research showed that boys who were adopted and their biological parents weren't criminals, 13.5% were convicted. Boys who had adopted parents with criminal background and non-criminal biological parent, 14.7% were convicted. Boys who had non-criminal adopted parents but criminal biological parents, 20% were convicted. Boys who had both, 24.5% was convicted. The controversy over violence and genes. Jerome Kagan, a Harvard psychologist, predicts that 25 years we will be able to identify 15 children in every 1,000. No one has found any direct link between genes and violence. When in a bad environment, there is a major cause of violence. Then we go on to the IQ debate. The IQ debate is to see if there's a correlation between IQ and crime. Scientists believe that intelligence was genetically determined. Alfred Binet conducted a research on children to further prove that intelligence was genetically determined. An intelligence test was given to criminals and boys in reform school, and 60% of criminals had low IQ. Arthur Jensen suggested that race was a key factor. Travis Hershey did a study that showed the effort of low IQ delinquent behavior is more significant than that of the father's education. Marvin Wolfgang's study showed a strong relationship between low IQ and independent of social class. Albert Rice and Albert Rhodes found IQ to be more closely related to delinquency than social class. Hershey and Hittelang, IQ is an even more important factor in predicting crime. Lower IQ increases the potential for crime within each group. The debate genetics or environment debate to see if IQ derived genetically or environmentally. Sandra Scar and Richard Weinberg did an experiment with black and white adopted children, and they did confirm that environment played a significant role in IQ. Biochemical factors. A primary focus has been in criminality and biochemical neurological factors. Biological factors include food allergies and these chemicals. So these are found in certain food, and these components have been associated with behavioral disorders. For example, Susan, she had a poor diet, but she changed, she ate like chocolate, hamburger, basically whatever is found in these food, and then she changed her diet and her offenses dropped too.
Chapter 4: Biological and Psychological Perspectives. Hypoglycemia is a condition that occurs when the level of sugar in the blood falls below an acceptable range. The brain is vulnerable to this disease and can impair the brain's function. Symptoms are anxiety, headache, confusion, fatigue, and aggressive behavior. This condition was linked to violent crime, including murder, rape, and assault. Consider the work of Matt Verkanen, who has done a series of studies of violent psychopathic offenders in Finland, one including hormones. The experiment shows that male animals are more aggressive than females. If a male is injected with female hormones, it will stop fighting. Neurocriminology. Research and neurological case studies confirm the importance of prefrontal and frontal lobes in a person's ability to organize, execute, and inhibit prosocial behavior. With this, the neuroanatomy of the brains of criminals seems to differ in prefrontal cortex volume. EEO abnormalities is a tracing made by an instrument that measures cerebral functioning by recording brainwave activity with electrodes placed on the scalp. Jan Novaka concluded that the theory is more likely to develop in persons who have a slowing of alpha frequency than in persons who do not use EEG on criminals. Minimal brain dysfunction is classified as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Produces behavioral patterns such as impulsivity, hyperactivity, aggressiveness, low self-esteem, and temper outbursts. First, it may explain criminality when social theories fail to do so, meaning when family associations do not suggest a high risk of delinquency. Second, it is an easily overlooked diagnosis. Criticisms of bicriminology. Bicriminologists often deny the existence of individual free will. This view suggests that individuals make choice in regard to a particular action. Others believe that predispositions are triggered by environmental factors, even if some people are predisposed to commit crime. Psychological development. The psychoanalytic theory of criminality attributes delinquent and criminal behavior to at least three possible causes. A conscience so ever bearing that it accuses feelings of guilt. A conscience so weak that it cannot control the individual's impulses. The need for immediate gratification. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, suggested that the individual's psychological well-being is dependent on a healthy interaction among the id, superego, and ego. The id consists of powerful urges and drives for gratification and satisfaction. The ego is the executive of the personality, acting as the moderator between the superego and the id. The superego acts as a moral code or conscience. Freud proposed that criminality may result from an overactive superego or conscience. Despite criticism, three basic principles appeal to psychologists who study criminality. 1. The actions and behavior of an adult are understood in terms of childhood development. 2. Behavior and unconscious motives are intertwined, and their interaction must be unrevealed if we are to understand criminality. And 3. Criminality is essentially a representation of psychological conflict. Moral development. Psychologist Lauren Kohlberg has found that moral reasoning develops in three phases. First, the pre conventional level. Children's moral rules and moral values consist of do's and don'ts to avoid punishment. Second, adolescents typically reason at the conventional level, and here individuals believe in and have adopted the values and rules of society. And finally, at the post conventional level, individuals naming customs and social rules according to their own sense of universal human rights.